Hello, 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 and welcome to Unique Leaders Live. I'm Megan DiMartino, and it is my most favorite day of the week. It's Friday. Friday because it's Unique Leaders Live Day, and you will be blessed by my next guest. I say next because we do this every Friday at 4 Central. Miss Kearn Cherry is going to be with us, and she has an amazing story of her journey. But before we go to Kearn, I'd like you to share this out. Share it out to everyone, your friends, your family, your coworkers, because Kearn is going to share a riveting story of her growth and her evolution that brings her today as an influencer. And it is an amazing journey. So I know that others will glean so much hope and possibilities through this. So please do share it out. It's also live on YouTube. So subscribe to the Megan DiMartino channel, and it will be a podcast this coming early part of the week. So you'll be able to go to the gym, work out, and listen to all of the Unique Leaders Live because they're all on the podcasting platform. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my guest, Kearn Cherry. Hello, Ms. Kearn.
Hello.
Thank
you for having me, Megan.
My pleasure, Kearn. Really, my pleasure. And we'll get to how we met at that point in your journey, and we'll, share about where, things of that nature. But before we go there, Kearn, I would like you to share a little bit about young Kearn, where you were born, where you grew up, and where you got this instilled spirit in you to do what you're doing today.
Well, I'm actually from Biloxi, Mississippi. I was born and raised here. This is my birthday month. So, hey, that being said, I've lived here a good bit of my life now, but I have 3 adult children. One, my son, Danny, has his own moving company, national moving company. I have 2 daughters, both are doctors. One's a medical doctor. One is a dentist, orthodontist, just graduated from her orthodontics as well.
Congratulations.
And,
wow.
But prior to all that, after living in Biloxi, getting married, thinking I was going to be able to finish my nursing degrees overseas, where my husband was stationed in Germany. Mm-hmm. We spent 5 years over there. And no, I did not get to finish my degree in Germany. It wasn't set up for that back then. Mm-hmm. So coming back to the States and living another 5 years in Sierra Vista, Arizona, which is about an hour or so from Tucson. Back then, it was about an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. My husband and I made it a commitment. We made a major decision because at that time he had gotten out of the military. He was in the Army at that time. And after getting out, living in a Sierra Vista was really tiny back then, more like a semi-isolation, I should say. Mm-hmm. And we had made a commitment that we were going to go ahead together and do nursing. What we didn't realize is the town that we landed in, which houses Fort Huachuca, which is the military base there. We didn't realize that there was no opportunity to actually achieve that. So we started out on a journey of going to with 2 other ladies, going to Tucson, which, like I said, at the time was about an hour and a half back then. Mm-hmm. We committed to going to school for occupational therapy. And so we did that. But remember, I said that was an hour and a half back then.
I heard it.
So you can imagine doing that for over a year, going back and forth. We had 3 kids that were under 10 at the time, my son being the oldest, and my youngest, I think at the time, was probably 1 or something like that. Wow. Yeah, they were very small. And so that being said, it was a large undertaking. Let me see. No, she probably was 3. 3 and 5, I think, and 10. That it was a very big undertaking for us. We did but it was the only way to break the cycle.
So let me ask you this. So your husband was part of going to school as well?
Okay, yes,
that's what I thought.
We were actually both working at the time as nursing assistants at the nursing home locally. Could not get a job at the hospital, which probably paid a little more. But you can imagine back then the minimum wage was like $4.90-something, whatever it was.
Right.
We were working hard, and we realized that was a cycle that was going to be endless. And so we made a commitment. We were going to go figure out how to get into nursing. And when that didn't happen, God opened another door, which I really believe is where we were called to be. It was in occupational therapy. And and let me tell you, that's a whole nother book by itself.
Right.
But the 4 of us traveled an hour and a half back one way and back home. And we would actually take 2 cars sometimes, because I would stay up and work in the nursing homes, hospitals, assisted living, wherever they had me staff. I started working for an agency. My husband would take the ride back with the other 2 students, and he would go back to get the kids and bring them home from the babysitter, all that kind of stuff. And then back then, I'm sure they would say, "Oh my God, you left your kid." Yes, he had to work in the middle of the night. I would be working overnight. It was a vicious cycle that we knew that we had to push through in order to end the battle of survival.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I was a single mother most of my adult life, and I'm listening to your story, and you had your husband as your partner, but I, like you, continued to work towards growing to better everyone's life, but it was not easy for anyone, including your children. So it was a sacrifice for everyone. Yes.
Yeah, I really think, and I look at it now, I know a lot of people are like, "What kind of your kids?" Well, my son is considered, at least by my daughters, I'm like, is he the third parent? Because he's getting calls and he knows stuff that we don't know, right? And they will go to them. They're very committed and supportive of each other. And they look out for each other. And they talk a lot. They probably talk more. I know they talk more than we do with all 3 of them. And so I think it installed a real resiliency inside of them, which also elevated my husband and I resiliency to survive, to build, not just to survive, but to conquer. And so I do look at that as a real starting point, and something where we could have chose to sit on the sideline and say, we just can't make this work. And I remember my husband saying, if I have to drive, because he had a motorcycle or 2 back then, if I have to drive one of my motorcycles to go to school, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, now we're going to do this together, because I've been on this journey for a while, and I am not going to be left behind either. So we're going as a team. We're going to figure this out as a family. And it was a big sacrifice, but it at the end of the day, my kids are very successful. As you can see, they're very successful, and they're determined. They have a drive that, like I told them, I said, I really don't know where you get that drive from. And they're like, "Really, Mom?"
Really, Mom? Oh, come on, Mom. Oh, wow. Oh, that's a wonderful piece to the story, which I did not know. That essence of that commitment, because that's what it took. It took a commitment for you and your husband, A, to be a team and partners, but B, was to not give up. You started that and you didn't give up. Wow. How long did it take, Kearn, to finish school?
I think the whole part of that school episode took about a year and a half or so. It was a compressed school is, I forgot what you call those type of schools, but it was about a year and a half, because once you finished the actual in class, then came the more fun part, which was 40 hours of free labor every week.
Oh my
40 hours of free labor.
Free
so that
labor.
means in addition to the job that we already had to have,
Wow.
we had to do 40 hours working for somebody free for about, I think, I want to say that part is about 6 months. That being said, my husband and I, the whole time that we had been married at that point, though, we never thought about our family. We could have called on them and asked for some help. We just did it alone, and it was us working and making things happen alone until that point. And I would tell y'all that is probably what probably made our marriage even stronger, is because we were dependent on each other. We were not, it was not, even when I was overseas in Germany, a lot of women, well, I can't handle it. I got to go back home. I'm like, no, I'm here and I'm going to make this work. This is, we're together, we're a team. And the same thing in Arizona, which people say, well, if you can survive overseas together, you can survive anything. I'm like, if you can survive Fort Worth, Chuka, and Sierra Vista, Arizona, I guarantee you can survive anything. Just try. You out there isolated. Do you know, we didn't have, and this is a key thing for people to think about. I don't care what age you are. Look at this when you move somewhere. If they don't have a Walmart and a McDonald's, you know you in the wrong place.
Amen.
You need to know that. It's really important, because I didn't know that at the time. I did not know that. And my husband had many options. He could have went to the Bahamas. He could have stayed overseas, which I love. Germany, Europe. Y'all, but you need to go to Europe. But that being said, it made us realize that we were really dependent on each other. And so when we did have to call, my mom actually was the one that said it. We called, and I was telling her, what we were doing. And she said, well, why don't you send the kids to live with me? And I was like, huh? And she said, I can take the kids while you finish, while y'all are working and trying to finish, send the kids to me, and I will take care of them while you finish up school. But that was probably the smartest suggestion that I had not thought of. And my brother, one of my brothers, Russell, people used to think he was my twin, but he actually came out and got the kids, because we were completely tapped out of money. I mean, we're talking about running on fumes here. And so they teamed up and came and got our kids and literally brought them to my mom, who actually, and look, my mom had already had a stroke by then. She had an aneurysm, but she was fully functional and moving and living on her own. And so I thank her for that, because without her, I think we probably would have hit a snare somewhere down the road. But family pulling together, right in the part where you think, well, how are we going to do it? Right. That's when family becomes critical. Yeah. And two, it was a time not only gave you guys the opportunity to really focus and then financially as well, but it also gave your kids the opportunity to have an experience that they never would have had either with family. So it was a win-win for both you guys, you and your husband and your mom and brother. That's great. Yeah, it really was. It has. My mom has been one closest person to them. Even my youngest, who was really small at the time, she's really close to her grandma. So yeah, I do say that it worked out really for all of us. And it was just 6 months seemed like a long time, but in reality, it kind of goes by pretty quick.
For
So
sure.
it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
So when you finished and you did your 40 hours for 6 months, did you go back to Biloxi at that point?
Oh my goodness. People asked us when we left, Megan, before we left, somebody said, so you're going back to Biloxi? I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, that first of all, we were actually going through Biloxi. That's what our plan was. But I'm like, the one thing about the people in Mississippi, they are really upfront. I don't care. People say, well, it's the South, it's the worst. They're very upfront. If they don't like you for whatever reason it is, you will know it, right?
Yes.
They're very friendly. And it's always been that way. As far as the cultures, black, white, whatever, we've always lived in the same neighborhood. That's what people don't realize. And so that being said, I know my people in Mississippi. In Arizona, nobody was from Arizona. Nobody. In the one class I had, only one person was actually born in Arizona. And so I told him, I said, hey, if I do get stabbed, I definitely will be stabbed right in the gut because they don't play down here, right? So they're very honest, frank, and friendly people. You definitely can rest assured. Most people don't know Biloxi is right on the beach. We're an hour from New Orleans. It's just one of the greatest places that people don't know.
No, I've been there. I went to a wedding there. Gosh, I don't know when that was, but it's probably mid to late 90s. It was wonderful. Loved it.
It really is. So, but the plan really was to come, drive through, pick up the kids, spend some time, and go straight to Florida. That's what our goal was. And then you get home, and then my husband's family's here, and my family's here. His dad was military as well, because we got Keesler in Biloxi. And so that being said, one thing leads to another. Somebody offers you a really good job that you just can't turn down. And we stayed. And I would say our business, PRN Home Care, we're now 24 years in. Though we started in occupational therapy, it's like, God was just calling us. That was just a step for us to create what we have now, which is our home care business, keeping the elderly and the disabled in their home and providing care, not just in their home, but we do the nursing homes, assisted living, all that, wherever they are, whatever their comfort environment is, that's where we will serve them. And so that's really where we landed.
The foundation of it all.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And so like you shared, that your husband is very, very, you're still partners and still working together. That's excellent. Excellent. What a wonderful story, Kearn. Really, you should just not only give yourself a pat on the back, but also just kudos to you guys. I know how difficult that was, and to hold everyone together, that's really wonderful. So I met you this past year, and so you have been building your company for many years, like you said, 24 years in. So that is your foundational business, and you obviously have built a name for yourself and you and your husband in the community. So that's part of your life. But you then have totally started a new business. I guess I would call it not just a career job, but a whole dynamic. It's so dynamic that what you're doing. So share with our guests, how this started, what you're doing. I didn't even say what it is because you need to share that. But how did this new evolution come into your life? Because you guys had your lane. You were very clear on it, successful in it. So how did this new lane begin?
So I started planning conferences and events about almost 20 years ago now.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually, one of the things that I do is I kind of see there's a need. Of course, I'm on and been on many local boards, fundraising and creating events for them. And chairing events and all that kind of stuff as well. So events is just something that along the way I've enjoyed doing. I
Yes.
see a need, I see a call, and I answer the call. So some of the things that I've done pre Success Women's Conference, which is probably it's the largest event that I've done thus far. But pre that, I've done Blessed Girls Rock, which is a conference for women, recognizing women from across the coast in a different way, because there are many women that go unnoticed and not recognized. And then I've also Lighthouse Business and Professional Women, chaired that for many years. And of course, inside of that, we have a major event that I've either chaired or brought on people, ran all the booths and all that kind of stuff. I've done that for years and years and years, sitting on that board, being the president more than once and sharing all business. Go ahead.
Well, let me ask you. So essentially, as you started 20 years ago doing these conferences, they sprung from your wellness medical dynamic. Did it come from there, or where was the platform? How did the platform start? Just from being on boards with other hospitals and groups, or what was the platform?
So actually, being on a lot of different boards, that's one. And then I would actually create other events that were separate. That would be mine. Like I created an event. There's a conference that I had called RIGHT, Resource Information and Planning for the Elderly. That was built out of need. I saw that there were people that were struggling to get the information at their fingertips. And I was watching all these other events where they come in, they gather information, but they're really there for the food and the candy and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to bring in speakers, doctors, nurses, social workers, all those people to feed into the caregivers who were the ones struggling, trying to get this information. So that conference I housed, it was about 600 plus people a year, and we did that for about 6 years. So those are the kind of events that I just pre-Success Women's Conference would put together.
Okay, great. So you learned and dug your teeth into it and then evolved from there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So going into the, of course, Success Women's Conference for years, and that when I say years, Megan, it taught me something. Many times people talk about something and nobody is taking action. All of you realize it needs to happen, but nobody has said, let's just do it. So one day I was sitting down with my partner, Dorothy Wilson and Tiffany, my partners in Success, but Dorothy at the time, her and I would have these conversations about my brand. And then we would come up to, well, that there's still a need for a women's conference. And not just an event, not just another gathering, but a conference that feeds the people that attend, that when they leave, they can do something with the knowledge they gain. So we looked at each other at the time and were like, well, why don't we do it? And thus comes Success Women's Conference. The first year was over 540 women at the first conference. And we did that in about 6 months. And then from there, we have grown. I mean, we've had Dr. Sherwood the year she came. You would have thought, like I told Dorothy, I said, I didn't know we had that many Christian women in the audience, but hello, they all showed up. And then Lisa Nichols and Robin Roberts showed up. And that was the true turning point. We went to over 1,100 people in attendance. In 2020, last year, we had over 17,000 virtually. It's just gone to a whole different level.
Yes, Kearn, you can see it very clearly how well, first off, you laid the groundwork, you laid the foundation. That's why I feel so strongly about unique leaders, because I could have started this by speaking about success women. But it is not, it didn't start there. You had to pay your dues and learn the structure and then build it from there. and start your first conferences. So that's what I want people to see, is that the success is in your story. You know, they say that success leaves clues. Well, I don't want clues. I want you to be able to share the story so that they can see, that our guests can see themselves in this, because you are so right. I mean, I'm here in Austin, Texas, and I hear prior to COVID and now, you know, that people are so ready for getting together, and people are so needing each other and encouragement. But if you don't do it,
Right.
it's not going to get done. And so you are an action taker. And
Right.
so you have shown that again and again. And that is why these women, such as Lisa Nichols, came and participated.
And that is true. And they don't, and I often tell people, just because you make a call and even willing to pay, that doesn't mean they're going to commit.
No, it does
And
not.
if you notice through the conversation of talking about the conference, I always tell people, give first. So part of the things, if you look at what I did leading up to success, I gave to my community well before they started believing in what we could do and what we provide. So I had already been doing events, sitting on boards, raising money, connecting with other people, so they knew who I was. You can tell and sell people a lot of stuff, but I tell people all the time, they buy you. They buy you. And the only way they can buy you is they have to know and connect to you. So that's why at our first event, I'm telling you, Dorothy and I look like we got 540 women at the first event. You know, it was the first year we flew in, and the lady that we flew in that year was Marlo Garrett, who I saw on TV. I saw her in the Chase credit card commercial, had been following her for years because I didn't think she was real initially. And then I'm like, okay, she is real. So, and she flew in from New York, and she was our keynote speaker. She was amazing, amazing business owner. And so from there, we just kind of kept looking who can come in and pour in more, who can bring more to the table. And each time, Megan, God would show his presence. Yeah, this is what I got you doing. This ain't what you doing. This is what I got you doing. And so I tell people, give first. If you want to know how to be successful at anything, start with giving. Start with pouring into people. Start with pouring into your community. But give first, and then grow up from there. You know, and you will find success. Yeah, success will find you. Right?
Exactly. Absolutely. It is just, again, Zig Ziglar says, you know, give to enough people and you will receive. I mean, the Go Giver, Bob Berg, and God Made Man. I mean,
I love that book.
Isn't it wonderful? And wonderful people. And that, but it's that principle. And you and your husband have ascribed to that since you joined forces, you know? And giving, and helping. That's in your DNA. So,
oh, it really is. My husband and I are both givers. He loves helping the homeless, and he'll stop as far as people on the street. He will stop or turn around to that person needs something. They're out there for a reason. So let me help them. But yeah, we have a giving first is definitely our motto. Definitely.
You know, I always say, you know, because I've been in the spa industry and skincare industry my career. And as I'm training my staff, you know, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. They have to know you first. And so, like you said, you got out in the community and they got to know you. And then liked you. How could you not like you? And then trust you because you followed through and did what you said you were going to do. So it's there's no doubt in my mind that this has evolved, but you've followed what the Lord has guided you to do. So now you said something very key, that this past year, 2020, which will go down in the annals of history, that the year that we all had to evolve differently. And so that's about when I met you. You were preparing for your first conference during 2020. And so this was a virtual conference. Now, there were many, many, many virtual, not only conferences, but Zoom trainings and the like. But yours, my dear, was epic. And you so graciously invited me to join you, to be a speaker and then to contribute. But it was all virtual, and I would pop in and out of rooms that I wasn't even involved with. And the content was so rich, so amazing. The participation was so exciting. How did you pull that off, Miss Kearn Cherry?
So I'm going to tell y'all something. So, and people have heard me talk about 2019. 2019, at that point, success was really in person at its height. But and I talk about that because we raised that year that was a 200,000 plus budget. I know because I raised over 70 plus thousand of it myself, and we had 25 states represented, all that here in Biloxi. But after that conference, God set me down. He just said, you know, something you don't normally do, Kearn, is plan. And I don't normally plan out details of my life. But that year set me down, and he told me two things to do. Create your own, go back to creating your own event. That was Power Up, right? That was supposed to be live in New Orleans, but it didn't happen. We had to do virtual. And then the book anthologies, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
Now, that being said, Power Up, Level Up and Power Up, what I call them testers for success, because I did Level Up as a pre to Power Up, and then Power Up was supposed to be in person, but thanks to where I live in Mississippi, the governor decided we couldn't do live. So I had to turn that around in 10 days. So 10 days. So you asked me, how did we turn success into what it became, which is actually our largest conference now. Yes, we had partners in that particular conference in helping us. It's a lot of people working behind the scene. People just don't realize that. It takes a lot. You have to raise your money. You have to get these keynotes and speakers. And I tend to focus on the speakers and raising money, of course. Right. And so that being said, I often say Level Up and Power Up gave me the insight of what we had to do for success. Yes, we had a team that was working with too, but it gave me an insight of what to expect and what needed to be done. And that has been leveraged for us and leveraged for me with the knowledge that I learned from both of those conferences, which are now international. You know, Level Up was it was international. So just, yeah.
Before we go on, though, I want to go back to one thing that you said, which is so important. After the 2019 conference, which was live, and it was very, very successful, you got a word from God saying, hello, daughter, hello. Yeah. And so I was just doing my own, it's called Megan DiMartino, Hope and Possibilities. And my theme of this show was called Trust and Listening. You know, that still quiet, small voice. But so many people don't listen, ignore that, and go on from their ego place, you know, kind of resting on their laurels of the success of the 2019 conference. How much would you say, well, I don't even know how to ask this question, but how much of the success of these now two conferences that have just taken the virtual world by storm, how much do you feel that had you not listened would not have happened?
Well, there's a few things that happened, and yes, you're right about the ego thing. Power Up was going to be a risk for me anyway. I hadn't done a conference outside of the coast ever. So just the idea of doing it in New Orleans, which I love New Orleans, but it still would have been new for me.
Yeah.
That being said, I knew that I was feeling, I tell people this all the time, you don't want to do an event or a conference and everybody's full. And when you finish that conference, what you have poured in, I was doing 16-hour days and I felt empty. I felt like, okay, I did not get what I needed from my own conference, you know, and I knew that. And so he was like, you need to get back to planning your own conferences. And so I had a choice. Stay in fear and say, this is going to be a lot, God, because I already got this business. I got success. I got, you know, there are other things I do, but you want me to do this? And it's like, yes, you need to get back to your own conferences. And then he told me book anthologies. And I was like, God ain't talking. This can't be God, because I'm the kind of person, writing is a chore. You write, I write what I need to write, but writing is not something that some people say, I love writing. I write every day. No, that would not be Kearn. But he showed me, and he sent the right person to push me and say, you can do this. You already have the calling. You need to do this in anthologies. You need to do this. And God was like, yeah, you need to do this. And I was like, really? Really? So I stepped out on faith. You know, instead of talking faith all the time, I literally decided this is the time.
Yes. Well, you are a connector. And so the anthology God utilized you with your talents and your strengths to pull all of that together and then to take it to market. Which you did, and you did it very successfully. So you stayed in your God-given lane.
Yes, they're gifts.
Yes, your gifts.
They're gifts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes you have gifts that you don't realize you have, and that was truth.
Right. Yes, seed time harvest. It has to be watered. Yes. So one thing I want to be clear about, because I want to talk about this a teeny bit before we go heavily into the anthology and where you are today. So essentially, in the conference that was a success, which was in 19, you had other partners in that. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. When I say partners, they're not partners. I mean, there are three of us at the top, Dorothy, Tiffany, and I. When I say partners, when you pull something together, there are, and we didn't really have that in 19. It was us and all the people that we have working for us. To go virtually, you really need those digital people that help you. Now, they don't become your partners.
Right.
They're just people that you hire to help bring it to scene.
Right.
So that's what I meant by that.
But you've said it several times, to do your own thing again. What did you mean by that?
To do my own thing, you mean to go out and actually do it on my own?
Yes.
So for level up and power up, that is me. That is me. And the team that I hire, I hire people working for me. That is us.
Okay. So and that's what I wanted to bring to clarity to our guests, because the thing about that, I feel, and having started businesses, is when you take on financial partners and people who are also involved, you lose your autonomy. You lose what the essence of it is. I'm not saying that happened with success, but what God said, do your own thing again with your team, the gals that you mentioned. And then, of course, you put other people behind you. And that's a very important thing to understand in business, is that when you dilute it, it takes away from your own vision, your own mission, your own calling.
It really, sometimes people need to know, when you're doing something as a team, sometimes, as you said, it gets a little diluted. And it's like, who really has this gift? People want to know who has the true gift of bringing this together. You know, I often, people call me the butts in the seat queen. I'm truly about making sure we have people in attendance, when we get down to that last month, that's gonna hang heavy on my head until I feel like we are successful with that. And that has a lot to do with speakers and promotion and pushing and driving it out. So for me, yes, I think God was saying people need to see your talents.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to highlight, because anyone that now, and Ms. Kearns' information will be in the text, and you can friend her on Facebook and so forth. But the most important thing is, and I'm a marketer, I've been in marketing most of my business career. This lady is an expert in this. She will, like she just said, she will not let it go. You will not. No, you build and build. And so you start. So let's go on to the anthology. So you were given that mandate by God, so you started that.
Yes. So, yeah, he called me at the end of that year, and I really resisted that, Megan, until December. I was determined that I'm like, I had wrote titles, and one of the titles that you'll hear later is Make It Happen. But Trailblazers Who Lead just popped. And I said, well, I told my publisher, I said, we're going to go with Trailblazers Who Lead. And she was like, great, and all right, we can do this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do this. And literally once I released it, God he shows you that it's him, because people that have no idea who you are, people that you may think they don't have an idea who you are, come out of nowhere and join and ask to be a part of your project. And so I watched it. And then all of this was supposed to be released before we went into the full COVID in the US. But then COVID hit, and it gave me time to really promote the women that were part of Trailblazers Who Lead I. And thus the putting them on stages, getting them on shows like your show, and people like that. These ladies went out and they started telling their story beyond the book. And that's what makes the anthology so rich. It's hearing these people on radio shows, TV shows, podcasts. Then they're in magazines. I enjoy doing that, and I enjoyed that. It was a gift that I use it for myself. But I was like, well, shoot, I can do what I do for me. I can take this and do it with my anthology authors. And that was what God had me leading to. God wants us visible so he can get the glory.
Amen.
You got to let him, your testimony being held in secret. I don't know where all this came from about moving in silence, staying behind the scene. That's not how people know what God is doing in your life. You got to share it out. Exactly. That's what anthologies are about. And so I decided we're going to do this different. Y'all going to share your stories. I'm going to put you on these shows. Show up. Make sure you're there. I'm going to follow up. It's work. It is work. I could go into it and just put a chapter out and promote the book and it's done. But that's not what it's about for me.
Right.
And so.
And you said something very key also, is that I want to just highlight this, is that, so for instance, I mean, and Kearn was very lovely to invite me to speak, so to speak. But again, I had to tape it. It was filmed, sent it to you guys. But so that, I'm just talking about me.
Yeah.
But this is like how many other people, but it brought a highlight then of my chapter. Then they have a face and a name and a heart and an essence. Yes. So it ignited it. Yes.
Yes. Well, see, Make It Happen. So that's the one that you're a part of.
Yes, that's the next one. Yes.
And we definitely got to get you in Trailblazers, because you're definitely a trailblazer. But that being said, Make It Happen, when God gave me that. Now I'm going to tell y'all, Make It Happen, I actually had in my heart since probably about 15 plus years. It's always a title that I just wanted to use on something. And so when I said, well, what am I going to do for the next anthology? And it was Make It Happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. So I put it out there, and one of my first authors signed up right away. And then it was crickets. And I was like, let me focus on success. So I went back to focusing on success, which was 2020. And then I came back to it as I finished up success. And I'm like, I still don't have any authors. And so I was sitting literally, most people know I'm not really a morning person, but I was up that morning. I was on Facebook, and God literally sent across the screen, and he shall make it happen, Isaiah 60:22. And I was like, Lord, I said, let me go look at my phone here and see if that's actually a scripture. And I went to the scripture, and it popped up everywhere. And I said, okay, God, so you're saying, oh yes, you're doing, and this is what I have you doing. And so literally I post that out, and I started posting again, and literally just sent the authors. They just came out of nowhere. I'm telling you, there are people part of my projects that join, and I don't know them initially. Some people will say, I've been following you for years. I'm like, really? We're not friends on Facebook, Instagram, or anything like that. But they're like, I've been following you. So I'm like, so when God has a plan, it don't matter what you think the plan should be.
Amen, sister.
If you walk in his plan, you will be successful. We were #1 international bestseller. Y'all, I want y'all to listen. #1 is not easy. I am telling you now, I was sweating bullets the day that we did our campaign. I was stressed out, but I wanted this for my authors because they worked hard for this. And so I'm like, we will be #1. When God says to do something, I know it's a #1. And so watch the authors share and to collaborate. Megan, so many of y'all are collaborating and doing things together. And I'm like, oh my God, look at God. He's got people connected from around the world. And I'm just so happy. Somebody said, you're like a mama bear just watching. I said, I know I probably shouldn't, but I really enjoy watching everybody, glean and reap from being a part of this anthology. I love it.
It's beautiful. Beautiful to see and be part of it. It just, that was April. I know the date because I was in Nashville at a stem cell training. It was April 23rd, around there that weekend when you put it out there. No, it's a lot of work to market that. Very, very much so. But you did it, girl.
We did it.
We did it.
When I tell you, those ladies and guy was on, they were working it. And I was like, well, we selling. But I was stressing because Amazon has changed. And so you have to really, I didn't have no knowledge of Amazon, but I learned that day. I learned a lot. We did it. We hit #1 in 6 categories. Now, if that's not God, and by the way, today we also became a #1 bestseller this week as well, with another anthology. So I'm enjoying it. That's why I said, Megan, God has me in this field. I'm not sure. I'm just learning, and I'm just following and being the vessel.
You're listening and walking. Yes. And that is the way to success. Yes. You said. Now, your last summit, which was just recently, you had Eric Swanson and several other.
Oh yeah, I had Dr. Striblin, Cheryl Wood, Natasha. Oh my God! Did you see where Natasha is marrying? Her beau that she met on Clubhouse.
Oh my God!
She is awesome. Instagram star. Maggie Cook. the keynote, and a lot of them are coming back to Power Up as well. Still have a couple of keynotes that will be announced soon as well. But Level Up was amazing because we were in other countries like Australia. The Philippines are really coming on board and joining my conferences as well. Other part of the world are able to participate. That's why I do it all day, because let's face it, everybody isn't on the same time zone, y'all. So
I think that's one of the things we've learned from Clubhouse, that people come into these rooms at all times of the day.
Yes.
Night.
I love y'all. I love Clubhouse.
Yes,
I really do. It's my number one social media site.
What is the name of your Clubhouse room?
K Connections. Connections. I love connecting, y'all.
That's
so that is the name of my room.
For Kearn.
Yes.
Okay.
And just a link directly with me, Kearn Cherry.
Okay. And what do you have a set time that the rooms are open?
So I'm an event person. I love doing events. So for me, you'll see flyers come out about the events. With Power Up, we're going to do some different things. And so my speakers will start to get some notification. We're going to start hosting mini rooms leading into Power Up. You heard it here first. We're going to host little small rooms where y'all can come in and kind of meet our speakers and hear different topics.
Wonderful.
I love to do Christian in the marketplace, so you'll see that as well. But just a variety. The whole goal of Power Up, and it came I told y'all it was birth actually pre-COVID, but during COVID, we realized it needed to be about powering up your life, your finances, your business, your health. People are struggling. Yes. To be honest, pre-COVID, people were struggling.
Oh, for
but
sure.
now we know that there are many struggling. So power up. Come and join us and power up your life.
Wow, Miss Kearn. We could go on for another period of time, but our time is closing. And I always ask my guests the same question. And, so Eric Swanson was with you, and he is a colleague of Sharon Lecter's and Greg Reed. And both Sharon and Greg wrote a book called 3 Feet from Gold. And I don't know if you've ever read it, but it's a nonfiction. I mean, it's a fiction, I should say, but it's loosely based on Greg's life, autobiographical. But Sharon shares a piece in it called The Success Formula. But the essence of the thread of it is why it's called 3 Feet from Gold, is that it started with just a story about this guy that was during the gold rush era in the United States. And he was from the East Coast. He went out west. He bought a gold, a piece of the rock, so to speak, started chiseling away to look for his, gold, his mind, so to speak. And he got very frustrated, very discouraged. And he ended up selling his property, his land, to a town person. And that person kept working and in 3 feet struck gold.
Wow.
Okay. So hence 3 feet from gold, meaning start and don't stop. So Sharon has what she calls her success formula in it. Okay. And it is your passion times talent plus association plus action. I guess there's times in there, but action, and then plus faith equals success. Now, I'm not going to ask you your feeling, your heart on all of them, but what I ask all of my guests is, what is your passion and what is your talent?
So my talent has, as you know, I create events. I teach people how to stop having big parties, because I'm tired of watching it. I'm telling you now, it's not helping anybody that you have a big, beautiful event, and at the end of the day, you're broke, because breaking even is the same as being broke. And so I love helping people be successful at that, because I think conferences and events will be here all your life, as long as you're on this earth. And now that we're doing virtual, you can guarantee that there will be some form of virtual in most people events. So one of my gifts, and you know, Proverbs 18:16 says, everyone is given a gift by God, as long as the world can make room for it, and he will seat you at a table of great men. That means you're going to make money if you use your gift. I have learned through the journey, and I am now 56, so it's been a journey, that I am very good at helping people get very visible very fast. I create profitable events. I know how to do it, and I know how to help you do it. And so even though my calling initially was in the healthcare field, but I've learned that my gifts and talents lie in creating profitable events and helping people get very visible. And so it's a passion, probably more. The events are probably more passion. Me actually doing them, my own events, is probably a passion. Success came out of a passion of me doing, just creating events in general, right?
Yes.
And
Your
so,
talent is how to do it, and your passion is creating them. Yes.
yes,
Very
yeah.
clear.
And watching everybody enjoy them, oh my God, it's just exciting. That being said, y'all, if you ever want to learn how to do those things, I am available. I teach it. You'll start hearing about my group programs coming after Power Up. And you can always go to kearncherry.com for that. I am very social media present. You'll find me, and as you said, Megan, I love Clubhouse. I love Clubhouse because I can talk to people anywhere in the world.
Yes, I agree.
LinkedIn is my second favorite, because y'all, this is where the world is going. You need to have a present with who you are on an app that's gonna allow people to find you and hire you.
Yes.
And so that LinkedIn is always has been my favorite until Clubhouse. And so, and I'm easily found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, you name it. Kearn Cherry.
She's there.
Kearn Cherry or Kearn Crockett Cherry. That's how you can find me. But that's me. That's me, Megan. I often tell people this: when one door is closed, try the next door. If that door doesn't open, go around back. Try that. And if you see that ain't working, come back up front, either kick the door in or create your own. Stop waiting on everybody else.
Right.
God gives you the ability to do whatever. And so you need to stop waiting and start creating. That's what COVID did for me.
Love that. Stop waiting and keep creating. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Kearn Cherry, I'm so joyful that you're in my life. We're just beginning, girl. I know that. And I look forward to continuing this dialogue and continue on. Now, the next conference is July 16th. Is that correct?
July the 14th through 18th. It's a 5-day conference. Look for people like Megan to be on the stage as well. It is, you can go to powerupsummit.com, powerupsummit.com, calling for speakers. We are actually nominating and doing an award ceremony as well, and ambassadors. So you want, and if you want to have your business displayed, you want to sign up. We have many options for that too. So powerupsummit.com, and I'm Kearn Cherry. You can go to kearncherry.com as well to find anything about me.
She's a powerhouse, folks. Thank you, Miss Kearn. Just hang out in the green room for a few minutes, and I'll be right back. Thank you so much, love. Wow, wow, wow. I told you that this was going to be a great Unique Leaders Live. It was impossible to even share anything from Kearn's bio because she has truly evolved into this powerhouse of connection, of marketing, of teaching, motivating, inspiring, as she said, globally. So it is just beginning. She has completed her second anthology. I was in the last one. And it is just a joy to know this woman and to observe her energy and her heart and her faith. So again, please share this out. It will bless, because there's so many nuggets of evolution of in the story that will help others to see themselves and say, gosh, I've wanted to do that. Yes, continue on. And even if it's not a summit or an anthology, that's not even the point. The point is something that is in your heart's desire. So please share this out and know that it is on YouTube right now, and it will be a podcast by Tuesday. So you'll be able to go to all the podcast platforms and find this. It's under Megan DiMartino Unique Leaders. You can find it under my name or Unique Leaders. It's there. And then the live is on YouTube, and that is under my YouTube channel. And subscribe to that, because Kearn is a powerhouse and there's others there. So I mentioned Sharon Lecter earlier and Greg Reed. Their stories are there as well. So we will see you Wednesday on Megan DiMartino, Hope and Possibilities, and then next Friday for another Unique Leaders Live. But in the meantime, Kearn mentioned the anthologies that went to the anthology that went to #1 on Amazon recently. Well, my book, Hope and Possibilities, Just Over the Horizon. It's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. Also went to #1 Amazon January 4th, 2020 in 3 categories. She beat me by 3 categories. I'm kidding there. But the bottom line is just go to megandimartino.com. It is on Amazon, but it is also at no charge on my website, megandimartino.com. It is my gift to you. I truly want, as Kearn said, there are many people struggling, and I want to be able to encourage you and give you hope and infinite possibilities. So we'll see you soon, and be blessed. Thank you.